The program. Well, I am touched and surprised, really overwhelmed. Um, it was for me a pleasure to be involved with the aspects of designing this airport. It was a great opportunity and one that actually drew on some of my past experiences. Some of you may know that I was a White House Fellow, and in that capacity served as a special assistant to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. And there, Gail, I headed up a task force for the Secretary of Transportation on the use of design, art, and architecture in transportation. So when I came back to Colorado, it wasn't a completely new subject to me as how to use transportation facilities in a way that would and could be enhanced and improved by design, the use of architecture, and art. It was a challenging position. I'll tell you one story. My first day here, the man who was in charge of the actual engineering and construction said to me, "Charles, do you know what the real role of the architect is at the airport?" Well, of course I knew what the real role of the architect was at the airport, making these fabulous designs, working on traffic flow, utilizing materials, and no, he explained to me, Charles, he said, the architect is the person who comes in after the engineers have done all the work and decides what color to paint the sheetrock.
One second, we have a special message for you. Just brief interruption.
Hello, Charles. This is Federico Pena.
Hello,
and,
Federico.
I want to say to you and to your wonderful partner, Swanee, and to your entire family, and to all of the elected officials and dignitaries and friends who were there today, the aviation department, and of course the mayor, just how deeply disappointed I am at not being able to be present at today's naming of this spectacular space at the airport in your name. You can imagine I had planned to be joining you and so many of your friends in celebrating your enormous contributions to the beauty of DIA, but unfortunately an emergency called me to Washington Sunday and I had to be here. But Charles, I just want you to know that I still vividly recall your strong support of so many artistic and cultural affairs of the city, and I especially remember your willingness to work for the city for all of $1 a year to oversee the design and the artwork of DIA, which I've heard people describe as an interesting challenge. But please know that since the opening of this airport 15 years ago, at least by my calculation, if you consider, 50 million people a year coming to the airport these days, and the many, many people who have come to see the airport in one fashion or another, I think probably 1 billion people from around the world have come to enjoy the product of your inspiration and hard work, because you understood more than anyone that constructing this massive facility was more than simply an economic infrastructure project. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a bold and a memorable statement of who we are as citizens of the beautiful state of Colorado. And because of your work, I think Denver International Airport has one of the first fully integrated art installations in the nation, and it's become the gold standard. And this process that you created, having artists working with architects and designers and construction companies very early in the design process to create this wonderful integration of art and architecture environment, I think has now inspired planners around the world to model their own arts programs after DIA. So on behalf of so many, many people who have been able to come to the airport to enjoy your vision, your inspiration, I simply want to salute you, to congratulate you, and to say that you should be very proud of your achievement. Please celebrate this moment with all of your friends and know that we are all forever grateful for what you have given us. So congratulations to you, Charles. Well done. And I'm just so sorry I can't be there to be with you, but I'm sending you a big hug and very, very warm greetings. Congratulations to you and to your entire family.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pena.
Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate that, Senator.
and
All right, thank you.
Mayor Hickenlooper, I have stories that could go on at great length about my experiences here, but I think Mayor Pena summarized one of the main thoughts in building the airport was that, in terms of the art program, was that the art should be integrated into the actual structure itself. And the derogatory term for not integrating art was called plop art. It would be the idea of buying a painting somewhere else and finding a wall where it would be plopped. The notion that we had, and which was very difficult to achieve, was to find artists who would be capable of working with architects in creating spaces in which the art and the architecture would work hand in hand to enhance each other. A simple example of that is in the use of the terracotta floors throughout the airport. As you'll notice, many of them have in them embedded certain kinds of decorations or artworks, some of which are very symbolic and quite beautiful. There is also, as you come up on the escalator from the baggage area or getting off the train, you'll see that there are what appear to be paper airplanes on the ceilings. Those, you will notice, are actually directional signals, maybe somewhat subconscious to the pedestrian, because you follow the direction of the airplanes to find your way out. And there were other ideas in which we thought that the art could be integrated. This would require architects who were very open-minded, because architects feel, of course, they are complete and unto themselves capable of making beautiful spaces, and artists who wanted to be cooperative with people as practical as architects. So that was often a challenge. It was a challenge at times working with the engineering mentality, which of course is essential in building a facility such as this. But with the help, very importantly, of Mayor Pena, with the help of George Dowdy, who was the bulldog, the director of aviation in Denver at this time, many of the attempts at in integrating art were, I think, successful. And my role in it has been exaggerated, of course. My role was to convince the powers that be that there should be a certain budget. Wasn't easy to figure out what the budget could be, because you could say, well, maybe 1% of the budget should be used for art. And I think we hit upon that at one time. Well, does that 1% include the fueling system? Does it include the cost of constructing runways? Well, you can say, why on earth would you want to put 1% of a runway construction in a runway? Why? So anyway, there were many ways of interpreting what we were doing, and we had the help of many local arts people who assisted. I would be certainly remiss not to mention Kurt Fentress and Associates, who I think did a fabulous job, who are responsible for the roof design here. I might tell you, if I may, a funny story about this design. This was not the original design for the roof. The original design was done by a firm called Perez and other engineers, and it was a typical steel construction, a flat steel roof, flat glass steel walls, and it was lit by what was called clear story, vertical glass on different parts of the structure. it would have worked. And after Fentress came on board and reviewed the project, he and his team decided that there was a more creative solution. And so they came up with what is now referred to as this beautiful fabric roof, which many people see as a reflection of the white-capped Rocky Mountains. And you might think, well, how did they convince the engineers to convert from a traditional steel structure, which had no question about it working, to an experimental structure in a way, at least in terms of Colorado, to go with something of this nature?